Hey everyone, on today's episode of Golden Key Design, we'll be taking the bathroom from this dated mess to this beautifully designed space. Stay tuned to see how we did it. So let's take a closer look at what the bathroom looked like before. As you can see, it's very dirty, definitely needs some cleaning. The walls are a manila color, they don't do the room any justice. An outdated vanity, outdated mirror and light, and the bathroom is just a complete mess. Needs a refresh for sure. Look at all that dirt, my gosh. And the vanity's outdated and also really dirty. And the mirror should be recessed in the wall, but it's not, and the light fixture's falling apart, so let's get to work. To start, I removed the shower curtain rod, fairly easy thing to do, but with this bathroom I'm looking to do a little bit more than just a cosmetic refresh, but also not completely demolish the thing. So we're going to do a new vanity, new toilet, new mirror, new light, paint the walls, but leave the bathtub in place and do some painting on the floor, so stay tuned for all that. Next step was taking out this mirror. I definitely got some help from Bianca here, as this was quite heavy.
Whoa! Look at how white it is. Is this so? See, this is supposed to be mounted in the wall. This part's supposed to be. Yeah. They just stuck it up.
Next step was getting rid of this handle for getting up and out of your throne, as well as the other towel bar and all the other items attached to the wall. Next up was the sink, and this is what I found after removing the P-trap. Quite interesting, not exactly sure even what that is. And now I'm determining which is hot and which is cold lines, so I turned one of them off underneath the sink, and when I turn it to the left, the sink goes off. When I turn it to the right, the sink goes on, so I know hot's on the left and cold is on the right. Just a quick little tip there in case you don't know which is which. And sinks like this usually are caulked into the wall, so I'm just breaking that seal with a utility knife and then removing both of the water lines underneath the sink, connecting the water to the faucet, and then we can remove the whole vanity. Yuck. Now onto the toilet. You're going to want to turn off the water. There's usually a place to turn off right at the wall, and then you're going to have to remove all of the water remaining in the toilet. So here I'm using a Ziploc bag to assist with that. And then once you get most of it out with a Ziploc bag, you can use a sponge like this to get the remaining water. It'll just soak it up, and then you can squeeze it out into a nearby bucket. And it's also helpful to flush your toilet so you can clear out all of the water in the tank. And make sure your water is shut off, otherwise the tank will refill. Then once all the water is taken out, there's usually 2 screws at the base of the toilet holding it in place, so you can just pop off those caps and then unscrew the bolts. Toilets are quite heavy and cumbersome to carry, but once you get that removed, you can put it in a nearby bathtub if you have it, to let any other water that's left in there kind of drain into the bathtub. And then I'm just cleaning up the drain here. It was pretty disgusting, and you want to put a rag in there to make sure that none of the sewer gases are coming up out of the pipes. And I got rid of those baseboards, as well as gave everything a good vacuuming, as well as cleaning off any of the excess gunk on the floor as we're prepping for the floor paint. And this floor paint is done by Rust-Oleum. It's actually held up pretty well. It's been about 6 months since I've done this, and there's going to be a base coat, which is what I'm applying here. And you can choose a variety of colors. I just went with a clear white to keep the bathroom looking open, and as well as I want it looking clean too. But you can just paint this directly over your grout, and your tile goes on a variety of surfaces. And it's pretty easy. I applied 2 coats to make sure I got good coverage, and then there's also a top coat as well that you can apply after. Then we cover that up because we're going to start painting the walls, which we probably should have done before doing the floor, but you know, you live and you learn. So here we're just sanding the wall down and then onto paint. We picked this beautiful seafoam green, thanks to Bianca. She kind of picked this color and it definitely grew on me. Really happy with our choice here. Then as we were letting that first coat of paint dry, we decided it was time to install that new toilet. So I'm removing the rag. Make sure you remove this. Some people install their new toilet with the rag still in there, and that leads to many problems. Here I'm putting on a wax ring, which basically seals the toilet to the drain. And then I'm bringing in the toilet now, and you just kind of lower it down onto the 2 anchor bolts. Then once you get it lined up, you can apply some downward pressure just kind of by sitting on it, and that will kind of smush that wax ring and create the seal and make sure no water leaks when you flush your toilet. Then you can add the nuts to the top of those anchor bolts and then some caps to cover up the metal. I then installed the tank, which you want to do after the main toilet's installed. That way it's a lot easier and less heavy to carry in. And then I connected the water line and turned it on and started filling up the tank. It's working. And you got to give it a test. This is actually a dual flush, so it saves a lot of money on your water bill. Then the final step in the process is installing the lid, and this one came with one with the soft close feature, which I really appreciate, so you don't accidentally slam it at night when people are sleeping. And now it's finally time to sit on the throne.
Oh wow, I'm gonna take some nice here. Woo!
Now that the toilet's installed, we can move on to installing the new vanity. I found this one at Home Depot for about $200, and it's a 30-inch wide. It came in this gray color, but also came in white and I believe black. And it came with a sink/countertop as part of the vanity. I just had to buy some new hardware on Amazon to match the rest of the gold accents, but really happy with this. It was a great deal for the money, and it even has that drawer at the top that goes around the sink. And then here I'm bringing in that sink base that I was talking about. That kind of functions as a countertop as well, and I pre-installed the faucet and drain, which again go with that gold theme color. And here I'm just kind of laying it in place, but I came back and added a bead of silicone around it to glue it onto the base of the vanity. Then it was on to installing the mirror, which was a team effort, but I kind of splurged on this item. I found a lot of similar looking mirrors with the rounded corners and kind of the edge sticking out beyond the mirror. I found some for $50 and $75, and I ended up ordering one, but it was not a quality piece. It wasn't really made of metal, it was kind of plasticky looking, and it wasn't the right color of gold. I ended up finding this one for about $150, and I was really happy with the quality. You kind of got what you paid for, and I think it looks great. Really happy with this purchase.
Wait, it looks so good, Grant.
After it was installed, I checked to make sure that it was level and plumb, and then it was time to move on to installing the new water lines to the sink. This was a super fun moment to finally get a sink back working. I just made sure that the P-trap was fully connected, and then I tested both the hot and cold lines. This is a good time to check for leaks in both your waterline connections as well as your P-trap and make sure that everything is draining accordingly. Now it's time to install the new light fixture. The old light fixture location was a bit too low, so I had to raise it up a little bit, and this little contraption here of tape and plastic is just a guard for dust so that it kind of just falls in there instead of the sink. And here I'm just determining the location of that new light fixture by mounting the bracket that it will eventually mount to. And then I had to fish the wire up to the new location, and I only had a pair of headphones instead of any string, so I just used those. Luckily, if they were damaged, it wasn't the biggest deal because I don't really use these anymore. But it ended up working quite well, and eventually I got the conduit kind of fished through up about 8 inches or so, but it was worth it because it makes the spacing with the mirror a lot nicer on the eyes, as the distance from the sink to the bottom of the mirror will be the same as the distance from the top of the mirror to the new light fixture.
Let there be light. Oh my god. Woo!
I was having some difficulties with the electrical work on that one, so I was pretty proud of myself once I got it working. And now it's time to kind of patch that hole where the old light fixture was. I tried this California patch, but it didn't really work out, so I took it out and redid it, and eventually got it to look pretty nice. And that bottom edge, which kind of looks a little bit bad, will be covered up by the top of the mirror, so you won't even see it. Then I can add some primer and then get rid of my little dust contraption, and then paint over that with some seafoam green paint to tie the whole thing together. Then next up was installing this shiplap wall, which if you want a bit of a detailed explanation on this process, I put out a whole shiplap video about 3 weeks ago on a breakfast nook if you want to check that out in the upper right hand corner. But anyway, here we're just drawing a line here with a level for that first board as a reference mark to install this first board with some brad nails. And then once that first board's installed, you know it's level, you can just rinse and repeat as you go up the wall with each and every board. I had to rip down that last board on the table saw in order to get it to fit, and then it was on to filling all those nail holes with some dry decks. I then reinstalled the fan cover, which I spray painted a fresh coat of white. I was potentially going to install a brand new fan entirely, but this one worked just fine, and the cover looks, brand new with a fresh coat of paint. Then it was on to caulking behind the sink, and I added some toilet paper in the larger sections of the gap just so the caulk had something to press up against when I pushed it into the seam. And when you're using silicone caulk, it's good to kind of tape out where you want your caulk to go because it gets pretty messy and it's hard to clean. So here I'm just adding any excess in the spots where I need a little bit extra, give it a little bit of time to set up, and then you can pull that tape away for a nice clean line. Although I ended up pulling a little bit of paint off in the process, so I had to come back and do some touch-up work. And if you're enjoying the video so far, I'd really appreciate it if you could give the video a like, as I put a lot of time and energy into these videos, and it could definitely give me some motivation to keep pumping these out, as well as getting, some more viewers to see the content and maybe some more subscriptions as well. And if you're not subscribed, please do so. We got a ton of DIY content on our channel, and we post a new video every Saturday to look forward to. So anyway, back to the video. And the shiplap came primed, but I came back and gave it a fresh coat of white paint to really make it pop. And I found that when installing shiplap, trim goes a really long way. It actually makes your cuts a lot easier because a lot of it will be covered up by the trim, as well as the trim really makes it pop, and I think it looks better in the end anyway. So here I'm just using some cove molding in the corner to cover up that seam where it joins the wall, and just nailing these in with some brad nails. Then it was finally time to reinstall the door so people can actually use the bathroom. I had taken this off originally to, get better shots for filming, as well as just a lot easier to go in and out without the door being in the way. It's a little bit difficult just doing it as one person, but I eventually was able to figure it out, and now's a good time to add some WD-40 to all those pins to get rid of any squeaks in your door. I then found some shelves to put above the toilet on Amazon, and these were just mounted to the wall with some brackets that you could just slide the shelves onto, and these are actually really nice, real wood, and they came nicely stained, so pretty happy with that. And then I was able to install finally the flooring transition from the vinyl flooring to the tile. And this joint here is a little bit tricky, as you kind of have to slide the boards underneath the door jamb so you don't see any of the gaps. And you need to put a seam in the middle so you can kind of put it in as two pieces. One piece wouldn't really fit. And then I just made sure that was fully in place, and then I was able to install the T-molding trim. And here I just put some really good quality Loctite glue, which is meant for concrete, which is what the subfloor is here. And then I just slid that into place and let it dry overnight, and now it's super solid. So let's take a look back one more time at what the bathroom used to look like. Then after all the renovations, here's what it looks like now. I'm super happy with the way that this bathroom turned out. It looks like a completely new bathroom that I spent way more money than I did, but I was able to save money by, leaving that bathtub in, leaving the floor in, and doing mostly cosmetic changes other than the new vanity and the new toilet, which I think are very worthy upgrades. If you have any questions about the process or anything else, please leave them in the comments below and I'd be happy to answer them. And here's some awesome before and after pictures as well. I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and we got a whole nother bathroom renovation next week, so stay tuned. And as always, thanks for watching and happy building. See you next time.